What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Okay, so last week I reported on potentially two separate interviews of Dr. James Lacatski. One was with George Knapp on the channels where he works at and has worked for decades. And the other one is a more extended two-part interview on Weaponized with Jeremy Corbell. The first one, I was mistaken. It didn't drop on Friday. It dropped last night on Tuesday. And it was really, George Knapp is like a total pro and a total badass. He managed to get 5 or 6 minutes of the whole history of what's going on with Lacatski, OSAP, and all that, Senator Harry Reid, and all that. He managed to synthesize it in 6 minutes, and it was brilliant. But I was expecting for Dr. James Lacatski to be a little bit more forthcoming on this second interview. And I do know that Jeremy Corbell has been saying for a while that he's been trying to get Dr. Lacatski on his show for a while. Now that there is a new book that he is going to promote, they got a chance to talk to him again. And before anybody jumps out and drop the same lazy line, there's always a book. There's a part of this interview where he tells you the amount of money he's making with these books. We're not talking about like the Da Vinci Code level of sales or Harry Potter. This is a very niche subject, especially those books. So he's not making even minimum wage worth of books. So I don't see any reason for him to be promoting books to make money. He wants to get that information out. And if you had doubts about James Lacatski before this interview, as I did, because I did, I really didn't like it when he said that he would lie essentially under oath if he was asked to testify. That made me categorize him as a hostile witness. But this interview gave me a different view of who he is and what his intentions are. I do understand that there's like a level of fear by many of these government employees who want for some of this information out because they can lose everything if they say something classified. They could even get the death penalty. As Dr. Gary Nolan said once when he was slapped on the wrist for saying something, he said that they told him that Title 50 applies. That means the death penalty. So yeah, I can understand. And it's not just that. I mean, you can lose your pension, you can get fired, you can get demoted. There's a lot of different types of consequences you can get if you talk about classified information without permission. So now I understand a little better. Lacatski decided to come out and talk about what he knows about everything that he did, about the OSAP program, about the Kona Blue program, which is the surprise for me. I thought that because AARO released the full report, which is a 56-page manuscript, well, they obviously think that it's not a real program, but James Lacatski just said that it's not just real, it's still running. That's what he said. And he said that it may be running with private money. That's a huge, huge development, in my opinion, because he's essentially saying that a program very similar to what OSAP was and other programs in the past pertaining to UFOs is still running right now, besides the legacy program and all the SAPs and USAPs that are not acknowledged. Besides those, because those have been running according to the information that we have. So he's talking about Kona Blue. There are a couple of clips that I'm going to show you about that. He also talks about the current state of the UFO community and how disinformation and misinformation have played a role in steering the narrative in the UFO community. And I see this every day. It happens not just in the UFO community, also within certain circles of the UFO community, like, for example, UFO Twitter or Reddit or 4chan. It's been happening there. There's a clear campaign of people trying to steer the narrative. And it was very important to me that when Jeremy Corbell told Lacatski that AARO was lying, Lacatski clarified they're not lying, they're doing their job. Because according to James Lacatski, AARO is a counterintelligence operation. And this is what he said.
Something serious is going on. In my opinion, you all are in the middle of what I can only describe as a major and repetitive counterintelligence operation by unknown multiple operators or organizations and for unknown reasons. Big question. What is so important about OSAP or Kona Blue? Now, I use the past tense. For Kona Blue, I shouldn't be using the past tense. What is so important? I don't know. The public needs to answer that. In my opinion, we're all being played like a fiddle, mainly me because I was slow to recognize it. But there's just too much that seems to be too focused, that is just unbelievable, that's being directed toward me. And I told George, I have even been criticized on my appearance and demeanor. It is what?
Yeah, and then they were joking about him being a vampire, which is something that I did see people calling him. Very unfortunate to like criticize a person's appearance, especially when he hasn't done anything to you. All he's doing is writing a book and trying to share information, in my estimation. He also spoke about Sean Kirkpatrick and the interview that he did with Stephen Greenstreet, where he completely disparages James Lacatski and everybody involved in OSAP and Skinwalker Ranch and all that. He reduces all this operation to ghost hunting and monsters and spooky, I try to not make any judgments when I see that, because to me it's very difficult to learn how to identify what is really misinformation and what isn't. And you got to be like really quiet and calculative about how you analyze this, because I don't think it's just as simple as that's a debunker, therefore he's counter intel or he is purposely misinforming me with an agenda. It's not that simple. I think that the ones that you should absolutely be aware of the most are the ones that are really friendly to you, and that they're even part, some of them, of the UFO community, I would guess. And they get to a point where they become really good friends with you, and then they give you false information on purpose so you can lose credibility, so people can turn on you. This has happened forever. Like, it happened to everybody. It happened to Linda Moulton Howe. It happened to Dr. Stephen Greer, although Dr. Greer made his decisions as well. But what happened to Linda was really unfair. They tried to do it to Grant Cameron as well. Jaime Maussan has fallen for it so many times. And it's all because of people that got really friendly with them initially, and then they were betrayed. They were backstabbed. That's how I think it works. It's not as simple as, oh, that's a debunker, he's bad. It's not black and white like that. And I think that people need to realize that too, because what AARO is doing, and they were caught not being honest, is also misinformation. And this is what James Lacatski is alluding to. But you also need to be careful with the ones that are embedded into the community, and they're not who they say they are. And sadly, that's prevalent in the community. So I just wanted to say that because, yeah, it's true. The community has been under a counterintelligence operation for a while, but it really intensified after 2017. And it's really difficult to tell the intentions everybody has. All we can hope for is just to remain friendly and try to not get into it with people, and just like try to be honest with the information you put out. And if you make mistakes, you can correct them, apologize, and just keep going, because it happens. You do make mistakes, but it's not that easy to learn to identify who has good intentions and who doesn't. So I wanted to say that before I continue, because for me, talking about Kona Blue, and initially when he was mentioning the programs, he mentioned Kona Blue and he said something along the lines of, I shouldn't talk about it in past tense or something like that, alluding to it still existing and being real. That surprised me quite a bit. And George Knapp did tease it before the interview. He did say that. What is Kona Blue? Let's take a little look at, if you guys don't remember, this is the Homeland Security program that was announced last year, early. And it talks about many different types of studies on UFOs and UAP. There is a specific slide. This is the cover, by the way. But there is a specific slide where this is mentioned. It says, as an initial study, focus capabilities on all known hotspots, locations with repeated frequent reports of activity, extend remote communication, programs to communicate and retrieve data across dimensional space-time barrier, develop remote viewing and remote communication countermeasures, study consciousness interactions with and control of technology, conduct experiments to determine baseline parameters for physical transport across dimensional space-time barrier, as opposed to communication and data transfer only. Deliverables, experimental results, and assessment reports will be produced on each separate activity. Results and reports will be maintained separate from other data reports. If you guys have read this, it might remind you of a little thing called Slide 9. This was one of the slides that came out when Lou Elizondo managed to get those videos out for publication. And this came along with them. It has been in the conversation for a while since it came out. And this is basically one of the many avenues of study that I think could be the most sensitive of them all because of the psi aspect of it and the psychotronic weapons aspect of it. So let's read it. It says DoD threat scenario, ATIP subfocus areas. The science exists for an enemy of the United States to manipulate both physical and cognitive environments in order to penetrate U.S. facilities, influence decision makers, and compromise national security. Psychotronic weapons, cognitive human interface, penetration of solid surfaces, instantaneous sensor disassembly, alteration, manipulation of biological organisms, anomalies in the space-time construct, which is very similar to the Kona Blue stuff, unique cognitive human interface experiences, and then the DoD advantages. DoD has been involved in similar experiments in the past, i.e. Stargate and others. DoD has relationships with renowned subject matter experts, and the DoD controls several facilities where activities have been detected. What was considered phenomena is now quantum physics. And I think that this is at the core of a lot of what we're discussing and we have been discussing in this channel. So that's why Kona Blue, I think, is very interesting because it talks about this in detail and it tries to explain a more scientific way to understand all of this. So let's go first with George Knapp's question about Kona Blue. And then let's go with Jeremy Corbell's question about Kona Blue. So here's George.
Lacatski, the picture that's been painted to the public by assorted people and debunkers and counterintelligence operatives is that Kona Blue was a crackpot idea. It went to Department of Homeland Security. There were some discussions, but they eventually decided there's no value in this. That's what we've been told. There's no value. It's a bunch of crazy stuff going on. And it is completely contrary to the process that you described in the earlier books.
Absolutely.
That Dr. Tara O'Toole and others recognized the value of it. They wanted it to go forward. Somewhere up above intervened, and the public is told it was killed right there.
Yes, and that the program was not killed. You can't kill Kona Blue.
That's wild. Let's watch Jeremy Corbell's question to Dr. Lacatski.
Why did you say we cannot talk about Kona Blue in past tense? I need you to elaborate on that.
Kona Blue is much more than Kona Blue. I can answer that directly, but I can't go into details. Kona Blue was a compartment. It was also a program. You can, if people knew what they were reading that was released, knew what is between the lines on what DHS, Department of Homeland Security, released, which, by the way, was a very good write-up. There's a key sentence in there. Let people find it. A very good write-up. But the thing is what's to do with a compartment? Now, am I agreeing with what has been said in DHS's and what has been said by AARO about Kona Blue? All I can say is,
Okay, so I'm going to read between the lines and assume that there is some active element or component to what we are calling Kona Blue. Let it be an operation, a compartment, whatever. You can't talk about it.
Not a compartment. That's secure.
Okay, so it's not
a program continues. It can be unfunded. It can be funded. It can be temporarily funded. Money can go in and out.
So a UFO study program could continue under that.
And remember what we asked.
Still going.
In the rear, it was with a lot of thought. Column wrote it in the rear portions of Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. He suggested private money going in from multiple sources. And I can tell you now that caught people's eye.
Okay. So, I mean, George, that's new to me. Isn't that great?
The Kona Blue stuff, I think it's the news for most people, because we all thought that it was probably not real. And AARO said it wasn't real, but honestly, trusting AARO is difficult. It did seem like because they released it, they obviously believed it wasn't real. So, but for me, the most interesting snippet is none of that. It was just like a 20-second snippet where just before I think they were going to end the program, and there is some music playing. I don't know if they're going to allow me to play it, but because of copyright, because it's just 20 seconds. But this is the debate that a lot of people have gotten over many years. Initially, all of the people involved talking about this were adamant that it was impossible reverse engineered craft were real, ARVs, right? Dr. Eric Davis told Gerb and Missile Man and Thembier to their face that they're not real. And yesterday, Dr. Davis told James Fox that if he got a pardon by President Trump, he would talk about everything. I think Dr. James Lacatski needs one of those as well. What I wonder is, would both Lacatski and Eric Davis discuss ARVs if they were given a pardon so they could violate their NDAs? Well, Corbell directly asks Dr. Lacatski about the triangles and about potential of reverse engineered technology being real or reverse engineered craft. And look at what he said.
Don't you think we've already achieved that? Like, we hear about all these people on military bases seeing triangles, and you're doing this study, OSAP, to try to figure out the physics of how to do that. Do you think it's already been achieved by the US government, or it hasn't, and that's why OSAP had a lot of value?
It hasn't been achieved to its full extent.
That is wild. Because, of course, I mean, it makes sense. Reverse engineered technology means that you can replicate the technology that you get exactly as is. And given, allegedly, that these craft are not from here, they must have materials and procedures and engineering that humans don't even understand and haven't gotten there yet. So the best they can do is try to mimic it as best they can with the stuff they have here. So that's what I think of when I say reverse engineered, because I know logically that probably many of those materials don't exist here. And a lot of that type of science, we don't even understand yet if we're talking about super advanced stuff. So, yeah. And here's James Lacatski, the man who ran OSAP and was part of Kona Blue, telling you that it hasn't been achieved to its full potential. I think that is the reason. But that doesn't mean that they haven't produced anything trying to reverse engineer it. I think that maybe they have. And if you don't think so, go back to UAP GERB and go back to the extensive work he does. He recently released a Sandia National Labs video that is about 3 hours or so. A fantastic video, and he's thorough. So that's not the only one he has. He has another one about Lockheed that is also recent. So you should go and check out the work he does so you can understand a little bit better why there's a lot of people convinced that ARVs are not only real, but have existed for decades now. So I don't know what you guys think about the entire interview. Let me know what you think. What do you think about Dr. Lacatski saying that Kona Blue is ongoing, probably with private money? And what do you think about him alluding to ARVs being a thing? What do you think about James Lacatski's statements about Kona Blue and about the counter intel operation, about AARO? If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, hype, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can also support us on KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always very appreciated. So thank you. And that's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like Dr. James Lacatski. Always. Bye.